Hey guys, well this is Buddy Shots Halloween episode, and
Halloween week.
I know, and I think that I know that we've just seen the best film
Dude,
that we could ever see.
you're talking about Halloween Ends.
Yes.
It was not only the best Halloween movie of the series,
Yeah.
but probably the best movie ever made.
Yeah, I think it is the best movie ever made. So
Yeah,
in
we
honor
finally
of
found
that, I think that you're probably on the same page with me here. I think we need to just disband the Buddy Shots.
Yeah, I mean, this was the end goal.
Yeah.
To see the greatest movie ever made.
Mm-hmm. I
And
agree.
we did it with Halloween Ends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, guys, this is the last episode of Buddy Shots. I'm getting rid of this dog shit because everything that I ever have on here is fucking worthless.
My notebook that
Yeah.
has all my notes. Don't need that anymore.
Yeah. So, I love the movie so much, I'm going to change my last name to Myers and become The Shape. So,
Yeah.
I'm
right.
just going to fucking go to it, man. So,
Cool.
let me see if I can put these on, because,
So the final moments of Buddy Shots.
yeah. Sorry, guys, but a better movie will never be made. Yeah. Matt, it was good being your friend for,
Yeah, man.
40 years.
Oh!
Oh my god. What time is it? What day is it? Thank God. There's still time. There's still time. I'm gonna make this the greatest podcast ever.
Are we recording?
We are.
All right.
Buddy Shots Podcast 92.
Welcome to Wildcard Week.
Yeah. So I guess we could go over this. Originally, this was supposed to be something completely different, and then we made a detour. That's why I'm dressed as Bub. But this is Halloween after all. When you're watching this, and it is today. We're filming it on Halloween. Kids are about to show up.
Everyone's entitled to one
Candy.
good scare.
Ah. The darkest day of horror the world has ever known is right now. But this ended up becoming just by chance. It is true. This is true wild card because we didn't plan this. You might not believe it, but it's true. Vampire Week, or as I put here, Vampire Week, double feature. You picked Near Dark from 87, and then I picked Fright Night, which came out 2 years before that in 85, which was weird. Like I said, we didn't plan it. Usually we're like, oh, let's do let's do Zombie Week or this week, but it was just, yeah.
Yeah, I think we accidentally created like the greatest double feature ever of all time.
Yeah.
Because like they're two vampire movies, but they could not be more different in like tone and stuff.
Yes, for sure.
Which always makes for a good double feature.
Yes. In my opinion, I agree, especially for like if you have too much overlap.
Right.
At least tonally, it kind of gets to be like.
Like last week when we watched two movies about uncle werewolves.
Yeah. Yeah, that was. I don't know.
Uncle Week.
They were great films. Spoiler for the past, but
Probably
yeah.
not the best double feature to watch back to back.
Yeah, but what are you gonna do?
Spill water all over yourself.
I'm like, say hello to Aunt Alicia. Yeah, I'm dressed as Bub from Day of the Dead, and
I'm wearing the Canadian tuxedo.
yeah, I guess you're dressed as the alternative George Lucas. Has he ever worn not flannel though? So I don't know if that's true. Anyway, so yeah. So what made you pick your film, and then I guess I'll talk about why I picked
Near
my
Dark.
film.
So
Yeah.
I first saw this 20 years ago because
Dang.
this was the height of like the special edition DVD era.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh man, I've never heard of this movie, but it has a special edition. So like I picked it up and I watched it, and it was great. And then I hadn't seen it since.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see if it still held up.
I don't know why I said yeah, like I was there. I'm like, yeah!
You probably were there. It's back when I lived in Louisville.
Oh, okay. Well, then I probably was there at some point. Yeah, that was kind of the heyday. But it's kind of coming back around now, but it's a lot more specialty with that kind of stuff. But that's the way it goes. And then, yeah, I guess I picked Fright Night because I had always wanted to see it, but I never had.
So tonight is Fright Night. For real.
It is. It's true. It is. Hardcore.
Like it wasn't before when he was trying to murder the kid, like, in his bedroom. But
It's
we'll
like,
get to that.
yeah. Or it wasn't. Yeah,
It
I
wasn't
guess,
real that time.
I guess, yeah. Anyway.
I was like, eh.
Like in that one movie we watched where it's like, now he's serious. It's like, it's like he wasn't serious when Bigfoot was like fucking laying waste to the countryside like Attila the Hun.
Yeah.
Yeah. But which one should we do first?
Dealer's Choice.
Actually, I know exactly what we should do first. I think we should do Near Dark first, honestly.
All right. Is that because it's getting near dark right now?
It'll lead us into A Frightful Night. It's a frightful night. So, yeah, this is Near Dark. Yeah. I didn't really know anything about this at all. Like, when you picked it, I was kind of like... Huh.
That's a good way to go into it, I think.
Yeah. That's
Hopefully.
actually, I think, a good way to go into every single movie.
Yep, agreed.
So,
you ready to get into it?
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
So when I first started...
I'm like,
I'm like, this movie sucks. When I first started watching it, I was like, oh, wait a minute, this isn't like...
oh.
It doesn't start out as like a crowd pleaser or anything.
Yeah.
Like, it takes a little while to get going, and it's kind of like very moody, and I actually fell asleep. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe I didn't pick... Maybe this wasn't the best pick.
When you sent me that text, I was cracking up because I was like, uh-oh, this is like...
But then I finished watching it last night, and I was like, oh, man,
Yeah.
this movie is totally amazing. This is, I think, a true masterpiece, and probably one of the best movies we've done. I loved it.
Yeah,
I was blown away.
I thought it was really good. I do agree. I think the beginning of it... it's funny that you like even said that because
it puts you in like a dreamlike state.
Yeah. That's probably the most positive way you could ever put at the beginning. Really, nothing happened. But
it's all about establishing like a weird mood.
Yeah,
and, like, with the Tangerine Dream music and stuff.
Yeah, it's funny because it's almost like the beginning was shot in like the 70s or something because it's like kind of like nothing happens for a bit. Like not like nothing happens and it's not worth watching, but it's, you know what I mean, that kind of a thing where it's like It's definitely not from the 80 era, which is weird because this came out like 2 years after Fright Night, and
and that's why I thought like the two movies are very different because Fright Night, like there's always something happening, either like a cool like scare or like something funny happening. But in Near Dark, it's more like
it's cool.
It's cool. It's more like a art movie almost. Like
Yeah,
it's not a crowd pleaser.
Well, yeah, in the beginning, and then it actually switches over to like a definitely like a
action extravaganza.
yeah, I would akin it more to like John Carpenter's Vampires, honestly.
Yeah.
Definitely towards the end, because I was like, yeah, it felt very much like that, and I was almost like, if you hadn't told me and this was just on and I hadn't known, I could totally be like, oh yeah, this is like John Carpenter's Vampires at some point, for sure. But
yeah, and there's lots of connections to Aliens.
Yeah.
Because it was directed by Catherine Bigelow, who was married to James Cameron at the time, and like it has Lance Henriksen, Bill Paxton, and Jeanette Goldstein, who were all in Aliens too, like the year before.
Aliens too. The
Aliens
third one
too.
So, as we stated, yeah, this came out in '87, and just like Vampires, it's an American neo-western horror film, but it was co-written and directed by Catherine Bigelow, like you said, and this is actually her first directorial debut. Well, her solo, I should say.
Of all her directorial debuts, this was her first.
Yeah, it says in her solo directorial debut. So,
okay. It was also written by Eric Red, who is the writer-director of Bad Moon.
And he fucking pillaged Vikings.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Eric the Red.
Oh.
Well, he didn't pillage Vikings. I'd be like...
You went rogue?
That'd be like Attila the Hun pillaged the Huns. He's like, fucking... he just goes rogue on him, like you said. And, like, turns ego on his own faction. I'm like, Attila the Hun versus DMX. I mean, DX. And so, yeah. The plot follows a young man in a small Oklahoma town who becomes involved with a family of nomadic American vampires. This movie is also a lot like, what's it called? Tarantino movie we did last year.
From Dusk Till Dawn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it sets up as something completely different.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is...
I also thought a lot about vampires, too, John Carpenter's, because they're like vampire westerns.
Yeah.
This is definitely a western.
Yeah, definitely. That's exactly what I was thinking that the whole time when I was watching this. I was like, oh man, this is no joke.
Yeah.
So,
I really like the Tangerine Dream score to this movie. It's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
This is right after they did Risky Business.
Oh, nice. Another film we have watched and talked about.
See our previous episode.
Yes. Yeah, so in the beginning of this film, like we were talking about, the young man is like a cowboy or country boy, and really it just shows off at the beginning of the film that he lives in a place where the biggest thing to do is really just go to the
saloon,
gas station or whatever, yeah, and saloon, like you said, and just kind of like get something to eat or get something to drink, and that's about it. Like,
yeah.
You know, I mean, there's really nothing going on, but there will be soon. Because he runs into a young woman that his friends or cohorts, which you never really see again in the film, turn him on to, and they kind of like start talking, and she needs a ride. She reveals that her name is May. I don't know. Do you know anything about this person? The person that played May? Or
no. Jenny, I forget her name.
Usually you're the one that brings up like the roles of like the women and stuff.
Yeah,
so I thought maybe you would.
Like the two leads of this movie, I don't think I've seen anything else.
I think that's mainly what I was trying to get at.
It's Jenny Wright and Adrian Pasdar.
Adrian Wrong.
Which, as much as this movie is like about, it centers on their two characters, it's kind of like they're the straight men, basically. They're kind of like all the there for the ride, happening. Yeah, exactly.
Even like the people that are like the side people, like the father and the daughter are more like, I wouldn't say like have more character or more like involved. They're more like they're kind of swept up in this like Romeo and Juliet thing, and like everyone else has to be pronounced for it, and that's the reason why it works, is because of that.
And if I had one nitpick, it would be I thought it was a little too convenient that like they would be staying at the same hotel.
Yeah, that part later on in the film,
that stretches it just a little bit too far, but
yeah, that was definitely like a thing that happened in the movie where I was just like, because by that point I'd kind of forgotten what not the daughter. Well, I guess it was his the
sister,
the son's dad's daughter. Yeah, the sister looked like, so when like the kid brought her in, I was like,
me too.
It's a friend, and then it was like,
well, wait a minute,
the dad's like,
seriously?
What the hell's going on here? Well, it didn't sound like that at all, but he showed up.
The dad is Tim Thomerson, and I know him.
What a name, yeah, Tim Thomerson.
Tim Thomerson. It's like, what's next, Tom Timerson?
Yeah, or Peter Parker.
I know him from a movie called Cherry 2000, where it's kind of like a Mad Max, and he's the leader of like the villainous gang.
Huh.
But he's very like, he cares deeply about his henchmen, and he's super nice. He's like, all right, guys, just be careful out there. Like, wear your seatbelts. Like, it was so good. He was so good in that. But
that's pretty interesting, actually.
Yeah, it was funny.
So, in the beginning of this, like we were talking about, like, it starts to get to a point where, this is I think out of both the films, this is one I would say that, like, it would have been nice for everyone to have ever seen this, to have known nothing about this film going into it, because the urgency at the beginning, especially when you know what this person is, like, that she's a vampire, is only heightened by not knowing the circumstances, and it just kind of, like, brings the thrill element up.
Yeah.
Knowing that, I mean, I'm sure on, like, you know, multiple viewings, it's not like you're like, well, this is fucking ruined, but you know what I mean? It's one of those deals where that's definitely like, oh my god, what's going on? Like, why is this person flipping out?
But I'm glad you mentioned that, because like I have seen this movie multiple times, and like by the time we'll talk about it, but basically the centerpiece is the bar scene.
Yeah.
And like my heart was pounding. I was like, this is so intense, even though I know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's so well done. I was like, whoa.
So they talk about actually your first hint that you get that like something's kind of off in this film is they're looking at the stars at the beginning of the film, and she says, "Oh man, it takes like forever." Well, I don't know exact quote. It's like 8 billion years or 8 million years or some crap like that from the light from that star to get down here. She's like, "I'll still be here when like that light, you know, reaches here or whatever." And it's like he just kind of brushes it off because he's like trying to like, you know, make out with her and stuff. But that's the first major thing that like the audience is like, especially like if you don't know anything, if you're just going into this blind. But that's almost impossible nowadays.
Yeah.
But I bet for people watching this in theaters for the first time, they would be like, "What? It's kind of weird." But that's what I like. Another thing is like a horse flips out. That's not too unusual, but like once you kind of like know things, it's like, you know, animals
something's
don't
off.
like vampires. So
Science fact.
Yeah, and then the main character, like Caleb, is like being a total dick, like for not taking her home until he gets a kiss. That was kind of like okay, but they start making out.
Caleb needs to be canceled.
Then he gets bitten.
Yeah.
So this is a part where it's like kind of gets like, what the hell's going on? Where she starts running for it, and then we already talked about the soundtrack, like the haunting John Carpenter soundtrack at this point.
Yeah,
like,
and there's lots of shots of like the desolate landscape and like sun going down and stuff, and I'm like, this. I love this kind of stuff.
And then the sun comes up and like he starts smoking, and you're like,
wait a minute.
Yeah, what's going on here?
Which, you know how they did that effect? They just like lit a bunch of cigars and put them under his coat. Super low budge.
Wow.
But it looks cool.
Yeah.
But that scene's really cool where like you see the RV come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
They nab him.
Yeah,
it's, like,
it's one of those.
man.
Yeah, they like grab him and stuff.
Which, that was a sweet RV. I was sad to see him roast it.
Yeah, it's one of those deals where like, when you like, I guess when you think about it, like, at the end of the day, like, why in the hell did they even risk their neck for this random dude she did? But like,
they pay the price.
Yeah,
the ultimate price.
But it makes it kind of, it's like the thing with like the people meeting up in the hotel.
Yeah.
Fucking bug. But they go in and they have to cover themselves up. And like she like, it's weird because it's almost like, it's like they're animals because they kind of like cuddle up if they have like a partner. So like she, like Lance Henriksen has like a girlfriend or whatever that he bit a long time ago.
Yeah.
And like she's like curls up with him, and then like May like cuddles up to like Jake or Caleb or
They're
whatever.
like a pack of dogs.
Yeah. They were laying like dogs. And then they have this like kid that was bitten. I don't. Do they ever like explain like who bit him? Who bit him?
Nice. I don't think so, but he was basically bitten as a little kid, so like
yeah,
his growth was stunted.
It's definitely something where I could see where like the Interview with a Vampire took notes from that, because they have Kirsten Dunst where she was like bitten when she was young, and they go a little further with that because they do some weird stuff where like she's essentially like a little kid, kind of like he is, and he's been alive forever, but he's like essentially like a grown-up stuck in a kid's body now.
Yeah.
Because he's grown up mentally, but and it's like, you know, okay. And then we got the wild card week. I don't know what that guy's name is again. I forget, but he's like essentially the guy that's become like Joker.
Severin.
Yeah, and there. I wonder what that's what Severin Films is named after.
Yeah,
maybe not.
Did you notice the scene because he has to like keep drinking her blood at first in order to stay alive?
Yeah, because he can't like. At first, he can't like kill like he himself. He's like, I can't do it, and you know
he can't eat food.
Yeah, there's like a long sequence of him like adjusting to like his new life or whatever.
But did you notice in one of the scenes where he's drinking her blood, they're at like a oil pumping station?
Oh, that's
I'm
cool.
Like, nice symbolism.
You turned into like Splinter there.
But it just made me think like pumpers got to pump. Pumpers need to pump.
He's
but it was such a cool effect because
he was pumping gas.
Pumpers. Like as he's drinking her blood, he can hear her heartbeat like deafening.
Yes,
and I'm like, dude, this just cool touches like that.
He's like, how to rock and roll, Sylvan. Yeah,
ain't no cure for the summertime blues.
It's like what? Like,
there's no cure, seriously.
Also, what does that even mean? Summertime blues? Like, huh? I've heard of, like, winter blues. Or actually, I haven't. I've heard of, like, cabin fever. That's what I mean, where you're, like, stuck inside and you can't go anywhere, but...
Seasonal affective disorder.
Yes.
Sad.
So, I thought this was really interesting. They have, like, a character that's essentially affected by vampirism. And then they show like the family's point of view. Usually that's like never shown. Mm-hmm. Like as far as like if they know or like you know like obviously right now they have no clue what's going on, but they know he's been taken. But it's like I've never seen a film where they like cut back to the family and they're like looking actively for this like person or
like pushing the cops to do their job.
They're pushing the cops.
But I think that's what. The perspective makes this movie effective because
nice.
Like you're basically along for the ride with the vampire family, so you start to like, okay, these are like the heroes of our movie.
Yeah.
So by the time it gets to the bar scene, you're like, oh man, this is so wrong. Like I can't root for these characters.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, those
like they're truly despicable. Like
I feel like
evil monsters.
They set up pretty early on in the film, even way before that like these characters are kind of like. Not necessarily all of them, but it's like Lance Hendrickson and like Severin are kind of like not right. The kid's just kind of like a dick, and the girl you don't really know much about, but it's like, you know what I mean? Like you were saying, like once you get to that scene though, it's like, okay, everybody's like, you know, they're an asshole. They're the world's biggest assholes. So like we've got what's this? A frustrated screaming? I don't know what that's about.
I don't know.
Yeah. Trying to think. Like, so interesting. Maybe it was like the dad is like frustrated and screams at one point, but thinking back, I don't remember. I don't get that. Anyway, okay, so what do we do? Anything we want until the end of time, but you have to learn to kill.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like, I was at a certain point, I was rooting for him to kill someone, which is like, wrong.
Well, yeah, it's one of those deals where it's like if the vampires weren't around pushing him, it's like, and I've seen this in many other things like media and stuff where like you have the person that doesn't want to do what's wrong, but if they don't, there's going to be dire consequences.
He'll die, basically, or they'll kill him.
Right? Yeah, it's mainly it's like some sort of. I mean, it's the same thing. It's either you die or you're killed. You know, and especially in like some sort of circumstance like the Donner Party and stuff like that. It's like you eat or you die, and you're dying to eat. So. We've got the blank check situation here where the kid's laying on the ground with his bike, and the guy's like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And then instead of like getting a blank check like in the movie, he bites him and kills him. So,
he made his last mistake.
Yeah. He's like Mr. Macintosh. So they talk about Lance tricking the lady he's with into pulling over, and they can't remember how long ago it was because they drive past his car, and it's like, oh, isn't this where you like bit me for the first time or whatever? And he's like, yeah, I don't remember how long ago it was, and they like reminisce about it. And
I love that stuff.
Yeah,
you learn a little bit about their history. Like,
right.
My favorite was Lance Henriksen. He's like, how old are you? He's
yes.
Like, well, I fought for the South. We lost.
Yeah. It's like,
dude, great line.
I'm really sure about why you would have to say that last line. Like the guy had no clue. He's like, we fought for the South. And just
what'd you think of Lance Henriksen in this movie?
I'm like, what a fucking loser. This guy's a dumbass. No, yeah, I mean, great. I don't know.
It's so good.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. I mean, it's
I want to rent one of your bungalows.
He's like, fuck you. I'm like, what? Yeah, we went to a convention over the weekend and met him and Robert Patrick. Both really nice guys. If you get a chance to meet him, I would say definitely meet him. But I think one thing we were both talking about is like both of them, when they're in something, they like make it better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, regardless of if it's a shitty movie or not.
He's so good. Like I almost forgot it was him because like like he embodies this like horrific character so
it's
well.
Like, yeah, it's like there's a lot of people, not a lot of people. There are very few people like that. The opposite of a lot. That do that, and like, you know, other people like Gary Oldman and other things where you're like, man, if this movie sucks, at least I've got this part to look forward to.
Yeah. And I think I can say the same about Bill Paxton.
Yes.
Who like he tries to steal this movie by like hamming it up so hugely.
Yeah.
I'm
like, tries to grab it.
Yeah. He like dials the acting up to 11.
He's like, do you have any movies? I'm like, huh? They do a thing where they these guys like go to like, they're like, can we get a lift from you, Lance Henriksen? And he's like, sure. Okay, it doesn't play like that at all. Like he doesn't say it like that, but like essentially, sure. But like then they pull a gun on him, and it's like they've just pulled a gun on like this, on a vampire and his wife essentially, and he's like, you're fucked. And they don't actually show like what happens, but it's like obviously you assume that like they both get destroyed. So
they get turned into slunk meat.
Yeah, their dinner.
And actually, I lied because there's a scene where the main characters get picked up by a truck driver, and this guy is like trying to win the Super Oscar here. I was like, dude.
Yeah, this guy was like,
I think he was supposed to be on like Speed or something.
Not to say like, you know, just because he was black, but he reminded me of the dude that we watch in Demons, the pimp. That guy was like out of control too.
Just trying to ham it up.
Yeah. But it was like this guy was like, he's like, you can't hold your lunch. Ha ha! You gotta be better than that, boy. And I was just like, damn, dude, this guy's not fucking around.
And then he describes specifically how to jackknife a truck, and I'm like, there's no way this will ever not come up again.
Yeah, he's like, you know how to shift, don't you? I was like, he's like giving free, like,
driving lessons,
18-wheeler driving advice to someone he just met for no reason. That was like a very like Goosebumps or Are You Afraid of the Dark kids movie kind of part, but it was so the guy can't kill the truck driver, and it makes a weird ADR sound when he falls out of the truck. It's like a stock whenever something hits the ground, and it sounds like kind of like a sack of potatoes. You know that sound where it's like
probably
like that kind of a thing.
I didn't notice that, but
yeah, I was like, oh, nice, man, this is awesome. Only because I've heard it so much, not because I was like, this is fucking shit.
There's tons of sound effects like that, like that are in video games and stuff that you play a lot, so you'll instantly notice.
The video games, they play me. It's like, what?
I'm thinking like Resident Evil.
Yes.
There's like a swinging door.
Sound effect. Yeah, every time he's like,
you hear it all the time in movies.
I hear that sound all the time in movies. I'm like, Joker. I'm like, it's like, fuck off,
Cowabunga.
Go. Like, you want to play with me now, man? It's like, okay. who should I dress up as? The Joker. Once again, he has to feed on her. He has this like multiple times, and she like this time like pulls away, and she's like, "You could kill me if you drink too much." It's like, and he's like,
yeah,
he's like laughing.
Don't bogart that blood.
Okay, so what? I'm gonna get my wet drink boy.
Wet drink?
I don't.
I like my drinks wet.
I think it meant like I'm. I don't know what the fuck it is, dude. This is when they go into the bar.
Yeah.
Maybe the line is like, I'm gonna get a drink or something. I think this is when he like slits the lady's throat and like, you know, and he's like, I'm gonna get my drink boy or something like that. I don't know.
Nice.
No, it's Severin when he says that to the one dude that he's like picking on,
mm-hmm.
and he says something to him about like, you know, you gonna drink this up off of the counter or whatever, and they essentially like bully these poor people in this bar.
Yeah, so this bar scene is like the centerpiece of the movie. It's so horrific and like mean spirited because and it's like it goes on for so long. They're basically toying with these people before they kill them.
Yeah.
But it's pretty intense.
Does have one of the funniest lines ever though, because it was unintentionally funny. One of them says, "Did I do that?" And all I could think of was Steve Urkel. he's like knocks over, like lights the bar on fire, and he's like, "Did I do that?"
Dude, I wish Urkel was in this bar.
Lance Henriksen walks in. He's like, "Got any cheese?" It's like, what?
But I think this scene is like one of the best scenes in any horror movie. Like, it's truly horrific.
It's horrific, but it's also like hinges on Terminator 2, where it's like he goes into the bar and people start fucking with him. It's like the reverse of that.
Yeah. Which that one dude is the same biker.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
nice.
like the guy at the bar is the same biker that Arnold like throws on the
like
grill.
A professional biker, I guess. I guess when you look like it's like Danny Trejo.
Yeah.
Super nice dude, but like he's known for playing like a fucking, you know, Mexican killer.
Yeah. And Jeanette Goldstein's in Terminator 2 also.
Oh.
She's the mom. Stepmom.
Goldstein. He's like, "You fucking dead." Or wait, he doesn't say that. That's T-1000 that kills her, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Your
that's right.
dead.
Yeah, that's what he says. He's like, "Your parents are dead. Your pets are being skinned alive. Game over. Fuck you." It's like,
cats and dogs living together.
Let's just quote a bunch of dog shit. And then that person says, "What do you people want? Just a couple moments of your time. About the duration of the rest of your life."
Great line.
Yeah. I was like...
I'm glad you wrote that down.
Yeah, I was just like... I was like, whoa. I was like, the bar fucking games they play me. Barroom kills, kids shooting. Yeah,
it's rare to see a little kid blow someone away in a movie.
Yeah, I loved it, man. Not okay. That came out like fucking.
I love the scene.
Disgusting,
but it's not like it's hard to watch. It's harrowing. I'm serious.
I'm like harrowing. Or wait, heroin. Fuck it. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's what's funny is I actually
because they're enjoying the like mean spirited killing as they're doing.
They're like, "Let's put a smile on my face," and I'm like, "Holy shit, this is Oscar worthy." It was really good. Yeah, like you said, for like the horror factor and for like holy shit. The whole thing with like the kid joining in and being like a killer and stuff is something that, like I said it like that, but I find it kind of interesting when they do that, because it's like going back to like Interview with a Vampire, like Kirsten Dunst. Like anytime they have a character that's like that, it doesn't happen often in films, but like when you have like a character that's like a kid and they're like do horrible stuff, it's weird, it's horrible, but it's also kind of like you can't not watch because it's something that just doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like, what the fuck?
It's unnatural.
I'm like, total elimination. So then we've got all kinds of bullshits going down. They're kicking ass. They're taking names. And like this dude goes running, and he's like, no, and he like jumps out the fucking window.
Yeah, Simpsons style.
Yeah, and they're like, go get him, boy, and he's like, and so he runs at. Well, he doesn't do that, but that'd be funny if he did. But he runs after him, and like when he finally catches him, the guy's like pleading, and he like can't do it. Like he's just like, and that's when like Lance gets pissed off, and he's just like, dude, we're gonna fucking take dude Turks and Volca.
Cakester, dude.
Listen here, Cakester, Caleb, dude. We're gonna fucking put you up. We're gonna put you on the cross and kick your ass, dude.
Apple pie.
We're gonna put you upside down and tan your ass. But anyway, so Caleb fucked up and didn't do what they said. So like they're like, we're gonna kill you, but like it's fastly approaching daylight, so like they're gonna have to like wait and take care of him the next night. And then we've got like a scene where like he essentially isn't his character anymore, and he's Lance Henriksen just asking for a hotel key. Like he's very like just like I mean he's acting obviously, but like he's not like the crazy psychopath. He's putting on his like normal person because he needs this guy, this old person, and he goes in and the guy's like, kind of ignoring him, and he finally gets his attention. He's like really antsy because like the sun's about to come up and they need to get in this room, and he's essentially like, haven't I seen you before? And he's like, I get through here once about every 50 years, like as a snide comment, but it's kind of like. That guy said that, but it's like there probably is a point in time in which he actually did rent this room.
Yeah, and that guy probably saw him as a young man.
Yeah, as a young man, like when he was in his like 20s.
Yeah,
he's like, what the fuck?
It's awesome.
It's very cool.
Yep.
Something that they didn't even have to put in the film, but like it was used.
It enriches the lore.
From Star Trek.
But that reminded me of the scene from Dusk Till Dawn when George Clooney's trying to get the guy's attention. He's like, what do you want? What do you think I want, you mean old bastard? I want a fucking room.
And he's like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great scene. It's just funny because it's just like he's not being an asshole for once in this film because he doesn't have a choice. He's like desperate.
Yep.
So they're all sleeping in there, and just like them not just letting Caleb die, them letting Caleb let this dude go comes back to sink its fangs into their asses.
So I thought it was funny that they brought the witness to this, like...
Yeah.
Why did they bring the witness
that would be like if
showdown?
That'd be like if you brought a witness to... Yeah, like... Well, yeah, that's the perfect thing. That's the perfect analogy.
Why?
Bring a witness, not only to, like, identify the people, but to people that are, like, killers.
Yeah, that almost killed him.
Yeah, and they've got him surrounded. Like, what?
But this scene was so awesome.
Yeah.
This was the scene where I was like, oh, this is a Western. They're, like, basically shooting their way out, Jesse James style.
Oh, for sure. Like the motorcycle builder. Rest in peace. So, yeah, like, and it's cool because it reminded me of Vampires as well, because they had that scene in Vampires where, like, shafts of light shoot down, and Thomas Ian Griffith is like, like,
yes,
he ain't having that shit.
It's very cool and cinematic, but it's also, like, a total mistake, because the shafts of light are coming in from all different directions.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, the sun doesn't work that way. Like, it's the one source of light.
Right.
They did the same thing in From Dusk Till Dawn. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I'll allow it, but watch yourself, counselor.
I think they also do that in...
Vampires?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, the next movie.
Yeah.
It's just like the sun is everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like... Yeah.
It does look cool.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, it's obviously, like... Yeah, I mean, it's a visual...
Right.
No shit. Light.
It's a visual.
Light is a visual. It's not auditory. So, like, yeah, they're shooting out the windows, and they're shooting out the, like, doors, and they're shooting out, like, holes and stuff. They're shooting holes into walls. They're not shooting holes out. You can't shoot a hole out. It's impossible. Unless you're, like, shooting, like, glue into a fucking hole and then shooting it with a bullet. It's like... Regardless, awesome shootout. This could be in any, like, action film. And in fact, it is, because this is an action film.
It does turn into one.
But that's when, like, everybody else is, like, flipping out. They're like, oh, we're screwed. The kid, like... This is one of the times when I actually feel sorry for these people a little bit. Because the kid, like, kind of starts crying. He's like, no! And it's like, Jesus!
Yeah.
It's like, good lord.
Caleb saves the day by get the van!
Yeah, he runs to the car and is, like, burning. And they have, like, a stunt dude, like, on fire. Which is cool.
The fire effects in this movie are awesome.
It's funny because they always seem to, like, slow down time when people do that. Probably because it's like they only had, like, a couple seconds of the dude being on fucking fire.
But I love that slow motion stuff. Like,
it's really
it gets
cool.
me every time.
Didn't they do something like that in, like, Terminator 2? When, like, somebody was on fire and they just walked through it or something, and it was, like...
The Terminator does.
Yeah. Is he in the film? No.
Yeah.
2 of them. Oh, wait, yeah, I guess it is 2 of them.
That's why it's called Terminator 2. Terminators 2.
Why isn't Terminator 3 Terminator 2?
Well, it should be 2 Terminators.
Right.
Yeah.
Because in Terminator 3, there's only 2 Terminators.
So that should be 2 Terminators 2.
Yes.
Yep. All right. 2 Terminators 2!
You terminated him!
Spinning like a Termino.
He's like, Wonder Woman. It's like, oh. The one thing I remember in that movie, just as an aside in Terminator 3 that's really fucking cool, like, you probably know what I'm going to say, right? In Terminator 3. When he takes John Connor out the fucking graveyard with the fucking casket in one arm and a minigun in the other. I was like, dude, this is one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
His mom's corpse.
Yeah. Me and my dad went and saw that in theaters, and we were like...
Same.
Yeah.
What a letdown. But then...
You're like, same. Like my dad and you.
I saw it with your dad. But then a few years ago, we went and saw Terminator Dark Fate, and it totally redeemed itself.
Yeah.
Horrible. Alright, back to Near Dark.
Yeah, watch our previous episodes on the Terminator franchise. It's literally like...
I mean, Terminator 1 is my favorite movie of all time, literally.
Yeah, Terminator 1 and 2 for me are like on the same level as awesomeness. It's like Alien and Aliens. It's like different but equal. And then after that it's like, you know, yikes, dog jizz. I should have said shit. So
probably
like
should've.
Yeah. So Caleb runs to the car, it burns like we were talking about. And then they kind of like are like, dude, you're part of the group now, and they give him like a spur, and like the kid like does the Mr. McMahon, and then he's like, just kidding.
Kenny.
Yeah. Yeah. Battle of the Billionaires. Let's see. So this is when we get into like the thing you were talking about, where it's kind of stupid. Where like the kid vampire sees another girl. And he's like...
I just thought it was a little too convenient.
Yeah, but it's a cool idea. It's a cool scene. I would hope so. They did it, and it was like dog shit. They brought it in. They were like, we wrote this in, and it's like a coincidence. But we fucked it. But I think that's a cool like thing of like him being like... He wanted like another person around his age to like... You know, be a vampire.
Bring him into the fold.
He was going to like turn her... which I thought was cool, but then it turns out that's Caleb's, like, sister, and then, like, the dad gets brought in, because they were probably going to turn the girl and then kill the dad. But, like, once that happens, Caleb's like, dude, can you guys just, like, not do this?
Yeah.
I'm with them now, and then some shit goes down, and they, like, make a run for it, essentially, because, like, it ends up being, like, light out, and they kind of, like, leave the motel. And the dad like is like takes him back home essentially after like much pleading to like not take him to a hospital. And I don't know, I guess his dad is like a veterinarian or something. It seems like I think that's what he is. And he kind of like does some blood transfer stuff, where he I don't exactly. They never really explain it, but they kind of just show some tubes and stuff like that. It's kind of like
he gives him his blood, basically.
Right, but it's like he gets blood from people, and that doesn't like turn him back. So it must have to be like he drains the blood out of him and
the tainted
gets
blood.
new blood or something. Which that's like a lot of blood.
Yeah, it's no joke. Blood week.
I know people have to do that sometimes, and it's like horrible. Much like the person that was suffering in this film. But it's probably like one of the first films I've seen where like they cure somebody of vampirism, and it's not due to some like mystical thing. Mm-hmm. It was like all scientific.
Yep.
Which is also very like very much like vampires, because for the most part, well, no, not really, because that's an exorcism gone bad, which is mystical.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe this is the only one I can think of. There are other ones out there, but so then at the end of the film, like May comes to see him and freaks out when she finds out like he's like warm to the touch and he's like cured.
You're warm,
and they you're warm. And she like touches him and runs off, and then they like take his sister randomly like in the field. And then this is like if like you didn't think it was a Western before, this is essentially like high noon out in the street.
Showdown in the middle of the street.
He rides a horse into the to the town by himself, and it's like, any Wild West movie you can think of where like the lone dude goes to the thing and stuff. And they even have a tumbleweed that like
I didn't notice that. Nice.
Very cool. So then he has his showdown with Severin, and he like runs him over with an 18-wheeler, and like he like claws his way up, and his like face is all messed up, and he's just like,
a great effect.
He starts like pulling random wires out, and it just so happens the first wire he pulls out somehow destroys the brakes. But then he just keeps going, and then like the dude jumps out, and he just jackknifes it, and the dude just blows the fuck up.
The Deus Ex jackknife.
Yeah.
But that's an awesome kind of climax.
Yeah, for a vampire to get blown up, that's probably like the best way that you can, as far as like, what was he gonna do? He didn't have anything to really mess with him, and they didn't really establish that anything but like sunlight really messed with him. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like crosses and garlic and stuff.
Yep.
I thought this was a pretty funny part, even though I guess it was kind of supposed to be funny, but like the lady throws her knife to try to like hit Caleb, and she like misses and hits Lance Hendricks in the mouth, and it's like they cut to his face, and it's like obviously like like
dude, that was a 1 in a million shot.
Yeah, or it's like a dummy or something, because he's like, whoa.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, and I was cracking up, and I was like, I guess this was probably supposed to be to a degree funny, but it was like way funnier than it probably should have been. Because it's like, he's like, what?
Exactly.
Yeah. But then it's like, you find out that she did it on purpose or something, because she's like, run, Caleb. But then they chase after her anyway, or after him anyway.
It's just more toying with their victims.
So then the kid blows up.
Dude.
Yeah, or burns, I mean, not...
He blows up?
Yeah, well, I mean, he burns first.
Yeah. When that happens, I was like... to have a vampire that just explodes, I was like, yes!
You were like, fuck kids. Yeah, it was pretty...
I mean, in vampires, they go up like
a
matchbook, but in this, they just put this like a nuclear explosion.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous, because it was like one of those deals where like the only person you see fucking actually blow up like that, like visually see with your own eyes, is the kid. Everybody else, it's like Lance Henriksen and the lady, like they blow up, but they're in a car, so you can't really see it happen, and the car doesn't like it blows up, but it kind of just falls apart.
Yeah.
While it's driving.
It rolls to a stop.
Right, and the doors and everything fall off. I'm like, okay. But that's definitely like the biggest holy shit in this movie for me was when the kid was like, bleh. I was like, and at the end of the day, May is like, she gets like the transfusion as well as saved, which is I thought was pretty cool.
Yep. I love a movie with a very quick ending. Like the villains explode. There's one last scene where she gets saved.
Yeah.
Credits. You're done.
It was also like nice because they ended up like, I don't know, going for the they actually get to like
the happy ending.
Yeah, live together kind of thing. But like they have this like thing where like Lance Henriksen and like his girlfriend are like driving, and they just kind of like, you know, hold hands.
Yeah, they're like, well, this is it.
And yeah, they just kind of give up and just let it happen. And I was just like, okay. Which I guess was just kind of like, maybe she was just kind of like, I want to die, and he was just like, okay, because he loved her, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's never really mentioned that like either one of them hate what they're doing. You know what I mean? It seems like the kid never wanted to die. Severin was like a crazy person, and like those two were probably, they were crazy as well, but they weren't, you know, there was never any mention that like, you know, some days it sucks being immortal, you know, so.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, then there's a weird freeze frame zoom in. And I bet Matt bumped this up to like a 25 out of 9.95 for this.
Because of the freeze frame? Like, yeah. Yeah, I love it.
I was like, but yeah, and that's the film, man.
Near Dark.
What'd you think?
I loved it. I think it's a true great movie.
It's not like a false true or great movie.
Like Halloween Ends.
Ah.
Yes. I give it a 9.95. I love it.
Nice.
Took a little while to get going, but when it gets going, it's like amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think because I don't now, like thinking about it again, I don't know if there's really anything. I don't know if there's anything I would like dock it for, honestly, and give it like a less of a rating.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as much of like a popcorn muncher as like Fright Night, but I think it's like rewarding to watch.
Yeah, I probably, yeah, I don't know. It's one of those deals where like
it's a serious film.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I don't know. I would give it maybe like either an 8 or a 9. The only thing that maybe holds me back from giving it like a perfect score is because I don't know. That's weird though, because like I don't know if I would want to watch it again right away. Mm-hmm. Which like certain films that like are 9.95.
Yes, I agree. And that's why I haven't watched it in like 20 years. And
yeah,
I'm you know, it holds up. But it's not one I'd want to pop in every day to, you know.
I don't know if I'd want to do that with any film, except for Halloween Ends.
Yeah.
Pop it into the fucking toaster. Cowabunga piece of dog shit. Are you ready to move on to Fright Night?
Fright Night. For real.
For real. For life. So yeah, this film, I don't know, what's your like history with this film is?
I watched. This is another one I probably watched like 15 years ago, and remembered liking, but didn't remember a ton about it really.
That's a great way to go back into a film.
So the 4K just came out, which I got recently.
Yes.
And I'm now the world's biggest expert on Fright Night because I watched all the extra features, of which there were like 10 hours, and 2 commentaries.
Nice. You went Lord of the Rings on it.
It was intense.
Well,
but I'm anxious to hear what you thought about it.
Yes, I am excited to talk about Fright Night, the movie. I'm like, yeah, we're talking about the remake, right?
From 2011, yeah. Starring, what's his name? Colin Farrell?
Colin Firth, me. Are you telling me Colin Firth was in this fucking film? But no, in all seriousness,
Because this is a serious film.
Do not send squirrel bones. Fright Night is a 1985 American supernatural horror film, written and directed by Tom Holland. Spider-Man.
Spider-Man himself, Spidey.
He's just like 20 years before he was born. He's like, yeah.
Tom Holland, the king of repeating the same stories in every interview. I'm like, good lord, man.
The king of like giving away all the spoilers. He's like, in this film, there will be blood. It's like, my. So, honestly, the only people I kind of know in this film was Chris Sarandon, that I'd seen in other stuff, and Roddy McDowall.
Yep, same.
There's other people in this film: William Ragsdale, Amanda Beers. I feel like I've seen her in other stuff, but she might just have like a familiar face or something.
I'm like you said, I don't know any of these other actors really.
But the film follows young Charlie Brewster, who discovers
You're telling me there's Charlie Brewster in this movie?
This fucking name. Who discovers that his next door neighbor, Jerry Dandridge, is a vampire. When no one believes him, Charlie decides to get Peter Vincent, a TV show host who acted in films as a vampire hunter, to stop Jerry's killing spree. Yeah, that's like the first like little bit of what happens, but we will go through the rest. Well, tonight is the night for frightfulness. Night. So yeah,
What did you think of Fright Night?
thought it was good.
Yeah,
It was a classic for sure. I could see like why people, back in the day saw it and liked it. Kind of like, it's back when like movies like Monster Squad and all those other films came out and were like a super huge hit because they weren't afraid to show horrifying stuff, but also like be like kind of like an Indiana Jones adventure. You know, it's like you said, this is more of like this is what you think of when you think of a movie.
Yeah, this is definitely a crowd pleaser for sure. It's just fun to watch. Highly entertaining.
Yeah. And it's definitely something that like
it's one of the better monster movies of the 80s. Like by the end of this movie, it's like an all-out monster like extravaganza,
right?
Which is the best part of this movie, I think.
Oh, for sure.
And it's got Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
Roddy Piper.
Roddy. What's his name again? McDowell.
Rodney the McDowell.
Rodney the Piper.
Roddy McDowell's great in this.
Yeah. Probably best known... Well, so known for this, but also known for being like the man, the myth, the chimp.
From Planet of the Apes series. I think he's in all of them.
Yeah.
Or at least the first 4.
I think he's in all of them, and I think in one of them he's just like a voiceover.
Yeah, I think you're right. Sounds right.
Because I remember you got me that collection. I watched all of them and was like, this last movie sucks.
That's when I discovered how awesome Roddy McDowell is.
Yeah. But go back and watch. We talked about those in one of our previous episodes.
It's a good series, but by the last one, it's like, man, they're running on like fumes.
Yeah. Which is like a lot of series, so I can't really blame them too much, but I did because it sucked. I am Peter Vincent, vampire hunter, as he holds the stake backwards.
Yeah. Peter Vincent, you get it?
Yeah.
Peter Cushing, Vincent Price.
That's music.
Which I guess they wanted Vincent Price to be this originally.
Yeah.
Like it was written for him, but he declined. So,
what a fucking idiot. He could have been a star.
Yeah.
He could have been a horror hero.
I can't imagine anyone doing it better than Roddy.
No, my thing is like,
he's perfect for
if
this
you got
role.
like Christopher Lee or if you got like Vincent Price, people wouldn't believe that they were like
struggling.
Cowards. Yeah.
Well, cowards and like basically their careers on the rocks. Like he's struggling to make it as an actor.
Right.
Like at one point he was popular, but now he's like
yeah. It's essentially like he's
all washed
100 years from now. Yeah, 100 years from now when Svengoolie is washed up. 100 years from now, Svengoolie's going to be a fucking skeleton.
He's going to be Svengoolie Tron, the robot. Like
Svengoolie. That time I was like, oh yeah, 100 years from now, Svengoolie's still going to be doing fucking stuff.
1892, Columbus sailed the ocean blue.
So we've got like a nice Howling at the Moon. I was like, oh, this is wonderful. Tonight's feature is Blood Castle. It's one of my favorites because I starred in it. I really wish I could do like a Roddy McDowall accent, but it's like he has a very specific...
Yeah.
I'm not going to even try to do it because I tried doing it earlier and it sounded like dog shit. So, once again, we've got another main character in a film that's a guy that's like pushing the girl to do something like sexual. We've been going together for almost a year, and all I hear, abuse. Is Charlie, stop it, then maybe don't do that. Or wait, that's not part of the line. That was just me thinking, like, maybe after a year of you being with your girlfriend and she always tells you stop, then maybe don't.
Maybe. Don't do that.
Yeah. Let's get into bed. What the fuck? You see that?
Me want it? I think it's supposed to be, you mean it.
Yeah.
Me want it.
Oh
dude, your notes are off the chain in this episode.
I use my phone, and it's like, you know how bad my phone is for autocorrect, so it's like, I don't even know why it says "Mawan" because that's not even a word, I don't think. Let's get into bed, you may want it. Instantly starts checking out the neighbors carrying a coffin. Yeah, it's like, this scene instantly, it I would say it goes into, like, Are You Afraid of the Dark territory or Goosebumps?
Mm-hmm.
But it probably takes a big, like, note from, like, the Alfred Hitchcock movie with, what's his name?
Rear Window?
Yes, Rear Window.
Stewart.
Yeah, Jimmy Stewart, where he's, like, laid up and he can't, like, but he sees, like, some shit going down.
But unlike that, like, Chris Sarandon is like not even trying to hide that he's a vampire.
Yeah,
he's like, check this out.
Yeah, he's like,
yeah, exactly. I thought that was pretty funny.
Mom, we are only in high school. His girlfriend looks like older than his mom. I was like, okay, dude.
The mom is pretty funny in this because she's like, "Are you having a lover's quarrel?"
Yeah, she's like, it kind of reminded me of like, I don't know, like my mom because she's
like
pretty,
a real
like
mom.
chill. Yeah, like you were saying just now. So Bob Hoskins says he finally got rid of the place.
Bob
like,
Hoskins.
That's the neighbor's name.
What?
Yes.
No way.
Yeah, and I was like, I was a little vampire guy hopping up and down. Dude. Yeah.
I didn't know Dracula was from a book.
Are you fucking kidding me, man? When you said that, I was like, that's always going to be something I laugh at. It's just like...
I'm like, come on, dude. Get real.
You didn't know Mario was a fucking... from a video game?
You're on set filming the movie.
That was a little bouncing ain't going to
I was a little bouncing god, bouncing up and down.
Why? Is that so funny? Because it's so perfect. Wish Bob Hoskins was here.
I wish Bob Hoskins was in this movie.
I know, he was.
Yeah, true.
In name only.
So one of the coolest special features
Yes.
on this DVD are they filmed a cast reading of the original script in 2020. So basically everyone came back to redo a live reading of it. The only person who's not alive is Roddy McDowall.
Yeah,
so
sadly.
Guess who played him? Mark Hamill.
Dude, that's awesome.
It was during the pandemic, so they did it over Zoom, but like they're all acting their heads off. Like they're doing great, and like they bring props and stuff.
Nice.
And I was like, dude, this is so cool to see. Because everyone is like,
yeah.
For most of them, this was like the seminal part of their career.
Yeah.
So they're very proud of.
Right.
And you can tell.
That's awesome.
So
it's like
that was really fun to watch.
To me, that reminds me of like all the people that are involved with like the original Hocus Pocus, like you know, that were like, you know, the actors except for like the main people, probably they or like whatever with other stuff we're doing, but like that's a huge thing of their career, and it kind of reminds me of like during the pandemic when all those actors got together and they filmed like The Princess Bride, but like in tiny portions and they stitched it all together.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, when did Roddy McDowall like pass away?
That was fairly recently.
Yeah.
Like he lived to be pretty old.
He's not on any of the commentaries, is he? Which sucks, man. That was one thing that like I was looking forward to, and I got the thing, and I was like, fuck. He's not on the commentary.
The commentary, like, I watched the first one and I was like, that was good, and then I watched the second one, and the director's in both of them, and he just tells the exact same shit over again.
That's why I was kind of reluctant, because I had a feeling it was going to be... Unlike when I watch, like, the Lord of the Rings stuff, like, Peter Jackson, I feel like, can talk about Lord of the Rings forever and not really repeat himself. But anyway... here's a scream from next door. So we've got, like, this dude's, like, friend is, like, a human rat. I don't...
Evil Ed?
Yeah. His name's, like... I guess his actual name's Ed, like you said. But they call him Evil, and he hates it, so I don't know why people just call him that. I mean, I think they call him that maybe because he's into a cult, but that's really only established in one scene, loosely. Yeah. And, like... But they just call him Evil, and it's kind of like, man, you kind of feel bad for this guy because everybody picks on him, even his fucking friend. It's like, what the fuck, dude?
Reminds me of someone I know.
Me?
No.
Oh.
I won't name names.
Reminds me of motherfucker Mike from AVGN. You know that guy? The guy that, like, plays... he kind of reminds me of... I forget what his name is. Mike... They call him that, but that's not his real name. I can't remember his real name, but... His name's Mike.
That's not his real name?
his last name's Mike, and his parents' name is motherfucker. He came out like a little bouncing, man. His parents called him motherfucker.
That reminds me of Horrible Bosses.
Yes.
Jamie Foxx's character's named Motherfucker Jones.
Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah.
So
I never saw the second one.
It wasn't good.
Yeah. That sucks.
Yeah.
Anyway, so awesome music. I have a note about that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's 80s, so we're getting some great stuff here.
Yeah.
From both, vampires, okay, which that's not the movie we watched, Near Dark, or, this film. Anything around the 80s, like, I don't know. We might be biased because we were born in the 80s, but I also like stuff from the 90s and 2000s. I think it's just, So, weird kid watching neighbors having sex, and then they just, like, see him and just watch back.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is a little fucking weird. And then he's, like, just shows his fingernails, and he, like, closes the blinds, and I'm like, okay. And then he witnesses, like, a bat, and then the dude just, like, steps out of the shadows, and he's like... And his mom's like, "Where you at, Charlie? Where you at?" And he's like, and the vampire like rolls a banana or an apple. You at home? Good luck trying to roll a fucking banana.
Roll that beautiful banana footage.
It's like.
Speaking of banana, we look like a couple oranges.
So, yeah, it's because the light's hitting off the thing.
No, it's a Fright Night.
For real?
Yeah, for real this time. When the vampire exposed his claws, that was not a Fright Night.
What, he
that was
exposed himself?
That was a fake Fright Night.
He was like... And everybody was like... tells his story of what he saw, and the cops are like, where are the bodies? And he's just like, he fucks up and is like, he's a vampire. And it's like, okay. Then they're like, get the hell out of here. And they like start whooping his ass. They like make him bite the curb. He runs back home. He's like, okay. He talks to his friend. He's just like, okay, you don't have anything to like fend off any vampires, but you're fine. All you gotta do is just don't like invite him into the house. And he comes home and he turns around and he's just like, $1 million.
That's a great scene though.
Yeah.
Like, I think Chris Sarandon's really good in this because he's like, "Hello, Charlie, I'm gonna kill you later."
Yeah.
Like, he loves the fact that like the kid is so terrified of him.
Yeah. He's about as obsessed.
He's like, I can come in anytime I want. It's like Bam Margera style.
Him and Willy Wonka is all about Charlie's, man. But he's all like, it's a setup perfectly because he gets home and he's like, hey mom, blah, blah, blah. And then like, he's like, oh, come in and talk to like our new friend or this person I invited over. And he's like, okay, and then he like turns around and he's just like, woo!
Like, I'll be back early and often.
Yeah. And his mom's like, what? So the lead is kind of an idiot because he's like, forget about me and I'll forget about you and there won't be any problems.
Nice try, Junior.
And then he like fucking stabs him. And that's when he's like, oh, now I'm going to kill you. And I'm like, why? You could have just like completely, you know.
Yep.
So.
But it's funny because he's throwing him around his bedroom like ragdoll style.
And he's just
but that's not Fright Night.
Yeah.
That was fake.
But he drives a pencil through his hand, and he goes nuts, revealing his true face. And he screams, and it's, like, powerful. And blessed.
So this was the same special effects crew that just came off of Ghostbusters.
Damn.
And I could tell, like, there's some of the designs are a little bit similar to some of the ghosts in Ghostbusters. But, like, that's basically some of the best special effects you'll see.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They're awesome.
Yeah, this was a prime time for special effects in the 80s, man. They were coming up with stuff, like...
I know.
How to do this and, you know, figuring it out. Because you didn't have a choice. You couldn't just be like, well, shit, we're going to, like, you know, we'll just throw a bunch of money at it. You just do it. Or just abandon it, I guess. So then,
put
like,
some CG artists in a slave shop and work them to death.
Slave shop? Like a shop where slaves are sold. I guess that's... Anyway, so, like, he goes downstairs and his mom's like, do you want a Valium? And it's like, okay, this is the 80s. Like, I thought that was a bat. I was like, holy crap, dude. But it's not. It's a bird. Birdman instead of a Batman. So, Roddy McDowall is awesome.
Yes.
I just have that as a note, because this is when he shows up. Well, he shows up first in the film, like, on TV as his young self. And they do a, They do a kind of a poor job in this film of doing the Back to the Future thing where they make Doc look old as fuck and then like reveal that he's actually not old. In this, it's like he went through like a fucking dust factory or something.
Yeah,
like
his
hair is like...
That effect sucks.
Yeah.
That's like what we did when I was in middle school in like a play.
To make
played
like
an old man.
What's weird because like, I mean, so have you seen the second film?
No.
Okay.
I want to see it.
I saw it right after this, actually. Like,
okay.
I was like, dude, I now have to see what happens in the second one. I'm not going to reveal anything, but I'm sure you know, like, Roddy McDowall's like in that one too. The effects, like, for him being older, just they look natural. So I don't know what the fuck.
You just did a better job.
Yeah, I don't know, because like that's the one thing I think that I could say was effects wise was like, what the fuck is this? Because it was literally just like they put like gray like chalk in his hair, or not gray chalk, white chalk dust in his hair, and then was like, okay, he's old.
Yep.
But anyway, so the vampire is like cucking Charlie in front of everyone. Or wait. No, he's cucking Charlie's girlfriend. He's not like fucking Charlie. He steals his girlfriend essentially. So like, yeah.
The dance club scene.
I think. Hold on, is that right or? No. He's
He tries to seduce her.
No, it's before that. Like, cause there is that later. But like, he makes advances like towards her, and like when they first kind of like show up to his house or whatever, when Vincent makes him like drink the holy water and stuff like that. This is probably like one of the scariest parts of the film for me, at least, when they're leaving and like, you know, Roddy McDowall's looking in his mirror because he's like vain and he's like, oh, I want to make sure I'm all good and stuff, and he's like, what the fuck? And he like looks back and he's like, he sees that they're like talking to him, but like he looks back and he's there, but in the mirror he's not there, and he's like, and he like drops the mirror and he like freaks out.
Yeah, it's a great scene.
Yeah. But it's like the reveal when he comes home and like the dude's there, the vampire. Yeah. It's like, it's just perfect.
It's almost like we appreciate a well-written movie. Who would have thought?
Not only well-written, but just well shot.
Yeah.
Too. Where you going, pencil dick? That's a line that I wrote down. Once again, I don't
There you
know
go.
who said it or why they said it, but apparently that's in this film. I thought it was funny enough to write down. I guess you could be the judge of that, whether or not you find dicks that are pencils funny.
Right in.
Yeah. That reminds me of High School High, where the gym teacher says that to him. He's like, "This is a new shoot, pickle dick." So right after that, like, he goes after, like, nobody, like, what's his face doesn't believe vampires exist, like Ed, like evil, but like he goes after him, which at first I was like, why the fuck is this idiot vampire going after the one guy that didn't even believe vampires existed? But it's like, then he, like, you find out, like, he turns him.
Yeah,
like,
he uses it as a way to get to Charlie.
Because he's like, he shows that vampires exist to him, then he's like, hey, I know you're always being fucked with, and, I'll make you, like, powerful.
Mm-hmm.
He essentially makes him into a vampire, like Renfield.
Yeah.
He's like his, like, because he calls him master and stuff like that. And Evil earns his nickname because he's gone rogue.
Who made who?
Like
Jerry made Evil. That's
yeah.
Question answered.
Evil's like, yeah. So then he goes to attack, like, Roddy McDowall, and he puts, like, a cross on his head, on his forehead, and it, like, burns into his head. And he says, "What have you done to me?" I'm like, what are you talking about? You're a bastard.
And you're turning into a werewolf.
Yeah, well, no, like, he's like, he attacked Roddy McDowall. And asking him, what did you do to me? Like, you're fucking trying to kill him. When he, like, lays down, he's like, cover me for the three, brother. It's like, fuck off. There's some really cool effects here, though, like when he has golden eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not something you really see with the main vampire, but, like, his whole, like, his eyes are just, like, I can't really describe it. I mean, I guess I did, but, like, you kind of have to just see it. It's cool.
Yep, very cool effect.
Peter Vincent scared. Like, he's like, I can't help you, like, vampires exist, and I not killed one, but I, like, fought one off, and I'm, like, freaking my shit now. So this is the thing we were talking about in the club, where Charlie's being made to wear the cuckold's fangs again.
And they pointed it out in the commentary, but I didn't notice. Well, it was like subliminal, but like over the course of that scene, she gets like sexed up, and she becomes like they gave her bigger like breasts at the end, and like she becomes more sexual.
They essentially do the thing that they did, and they do all like the high school movies where they take the nerd and like she just takes her glasses off and becomes like
her hair gets
Superman.
Bigger and
It's like Clark Kent's like, nobody knows it's Superman. He takes off his glasses and he's like, I don't know, he doesn't do that, but he destroys like two bouncers, which like that was pretty ridiculous. It reminded me of that one movie with The Rock where like The Rock is a bouncer and he kicks ass, but I don't know. I think that's only because apparently
Rundown.
I think
is he a
so.
bouncer in that?
Yeah,
I think he starts out as a bouncer.
Yeah. We need to watch that movie.
Movie is great.
Yeah. Rundown and what's the other one?
Walking Tall.
Yeah, those are the only two Rock movies.
His first two movies out of the gate, awesome, and been total crap ever since.
Well, it's because those two were like made for him, and the rest are literally just him coming in and like saving series, like franchises that have been around.
And those are like real movies. Now all he does is green screen stuff.
He's like, he's like, the people's elbow leads to suffering. So he gets Amy anyway. What?
So I have to.
Yeah, go ahead.
On Tim's podcast this week,
he
went on a rant about how Luke Skywalker should have drowned Yoda in a swamp. That was so funny.
Sorry, because
you can cut that part out.
No, that's hilarious.
He likes to rag on Star Wars.
That's hilarious.
It's like, you should have drowned that little bastard in the swamp.
That little bastard. He's like, mine. That's when he's eating like Luke's hot dogs. He's like, Vienna sausages.
Yeah.
Oh man, weenie weenies. So this scene kind of reminds me of like the scene in Karate Kid 2, where like Choza is like going after like to try to like get Daniel and like his girlfriend, except for the only thing they have in common is that they're in a club, because in this one the bad guy gets away with the girl regardless of what happened. So, yeah, I mean, Roddy McDowall, for me, makes this film so much better. I mean, he kind of just makes the film in general. I mean, the whole movie's fucking sweet, but, like...
He's perfectly cast in this role, and he's great.
Yeah.
Like, totally... It's a great character.
Yeah.
And he's great.
He says, I'm just a character in a movie. I'm terrified. And it's, like, the way he voices over... I'm glad that they didn't try to make him do, like, a different accent or something. Like, they just had him talk how he normally talks, because... His voice has been used for so many things, and for like audiobooks and voiceovers and stuff. And I can't remember if we talked about it on the podcast, but he did the voice for the Mad Hatter in Batman the animated series. Plays the same kind of like forlorn, like love character that like. Well, I guess he's not love. He's like, I'm love, but just that kind of like down. But, like, you know, he's going to go after her and stuff like that. And, like, Peter Vincent shows up anyway to, like, help him.
Yeah.
Which, you know, that was awesome. He comes back and this is like, you know, you can't take on this shit by yourself. I'm a true vampire. He's essentially
he
like... He
mans up, basically.
Yeah, he's like Mr. Sataning here. And he's like you said, he's like, you know, I'm a bullshitter, but I'm going to... He, like, embraces the character to a fault. But, I mean, it's what helps him. So I have a question though that kind of like I didn't really understand. Like, he pulls out a cross, and it worked earlier, like Vincent. And he says you have to have faith. It doesn't work on the main vampire, and he says you have to have faith for this to work on me. And I said, like, did he lose faith between like evil?
He didn't believe hard enough. I don't know.
Yeah, because like I almost thought that was like, did he like lose faith in God between then and now? Because what happens in the next second is Charlie pulls out a cross, and I guess he has like faith, and the vampire makes the most horrifying sound I've heard in like any film. You know what I mean? When he recoils, he's like truly like horrified. At first I thought it was because like the vampire has to have faith like in God, and he's like, I don't believe in God, and this guy did, but that's not the case because he, I don't know. I just thought that was kind of like, I didn't get it, but maybe, whatever, doesn't matter. Evil looks like a Ferengi, and then he turns into a wolf. I thought that was kind of cool because, like,
I think that's my favorite part of this movie.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, there's a werewolf in my vampire movie. Awesome.
But, like, when he turns into... But he's you know, a vampire, and, like, vampires can turn into, like, wolves, mist, and, like, bats. But like it's cool.
And Leslie Nielsen's.
Yeah, it's cool that like in this film that they show like it's kind of like after he gets like killed, they show the slow transformation back from like a wolf to like the vampire. You know, as he's like, you know, screwed. But like, they have like this animatronic or like puppet that they're doing with like the wolf, and he's like flopping his way to freedom after going over the balcony.
Freedom?
Yeah, it was like, I guess it wasn't freedom. He got reamed.
The sweet release of death.
Yeah. But Roddy McDowall, it's like, I don't know, I feel like all I'm saying in this review is Roddy McDowall. But like,
this is probably his best scene in the movie, because his reaction is like, he feels pity.
Yeah. He wants to like help him.
Yeah.
But he can't help him because if he pulls that thing out, he'll kill him. But he's like, he's just a kid, but it's like, I can't.
He's almost about to like start
crying.
Yeah,
he's like, and then he like, you know, yeah, it's I don't know. It's something like you have to see. I don't know.
It's fine acting.
Yeah. So Fog coming out of the house, so cool. Yeah, that, like you said, like this turns into like a huge, like a perfect monster thing at the end, because it's like they go up to the house and it's like fog is like pouring out of it.
You've already had vampires and werewolves, and then his one henchman like turns into a skeleton.
Yeah, he's like a slime guy or something.
That was awesome.
I'm assuming like this guy was like a homunculus or something that like got built, because like he gets, when they kill him, he like melts into slime. And then, like...
When they did the Zoom reunion, that dude, like, dumped a bunch of slime over his head, and everyone was like,
awesome. Yeah! And he died. Because it was acid. He's like... but, like, yeah, his skeleton slides across the floor after death. It's, like,
Yeah, that was awesome.
Like, dude.
Very cool effect.
Yeah.
Very Ghostbuster-y.
Yeah, it's like, you know, he gets killed and it's like his body's just turning to slime, and then you see like his bones and it's like, what the hell is this guy? But it's cool because they don't really talk about what he is. It's just like, this guy's his servant. So he says, "You're out of time, Mr. Daniels," even though there's like still like 10 or 15 more minutes of the film. No, he says like, "You're out of time, Mr. Daniels," because there's like the sun behind him. Man versus bat choke scene. That was kind of fucking weird.
Man versus bat. Man versus wolf. Wolf versus wolf.
He's like choking this fucking puppet. Roddy McDowall is.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is something that I'd seen, but I didn't know what it was from until now. When they confront like Amy, she gets like this huge mouth, and I was like, that's something I've seen before, but I didn't know it was from this film until now.
It's pretty scary, man.
Yeah.
That effect is really, it worked for me. And
Yeah.
they said like,
you're like, ooh yeah,
it worked
for me.
when they said like in the theater,
Yeah.
when her face kind of pops up, like everyone lost their minds, and I was like, dude, this would have been so cool to see in it.
They were all like, y'all gonna make me lose my mind. Oh my god, I'm butt nude. Yeah, like, yeah, I could totally see that. I mean, like,
it's a great like
when I
kind of
saw
jump
it-
scare, but not really jump scare.
Yeah, it's more so like
it's just a shock.
just the side of it. It's kind of like the Invasion of the Body Snatchers when you see that dog with a mask on. It's like,
The
what
banjo
the
music
fuck
playing?
is this? Like, it's just like the shock of it is like, huh?
Yeah.
So now we're into the last little bit here, and the main vampire gets blown back like Kamehameha style by like a fucking like by the sun.
That was cool.
It's like Broken Arrow style. He's like, ah, like, dude, it's like it's hard for me to describe this, but I'll try. There's green light, like you said. There's like, well, you didn't say that at all, but like green light is in like very Ghostbustery, like flames, and then there's like, you see like his skeleton, and it's like it transforms like into this thing with wings.
Yeah, yeah.
Very
It's
weird.
another bonus monster in this movie.
Yeah.
It's like a winged demon.
Yeah, his skeleton is a bone. This monster. But yeah, it envelops his body, and he's fucked. So Peter Vincent is back on TV.
His career is rejuvenated.
He's like, PV, the whole fucking show. But yeah, his, like you said, like he's like, they took me off. He's like, I thought I'd give vampires a rest for a bit because tonight is about like aliens, right, Charlie? It's like, dude, so good.
Nice shout out.
He's like, everybody watching the freaking Fright Night podcast. Yeah, I don't know. So you said you watched a lot of the extras. Like, was there? You said there was a lot of stuff that kind of was on there. How many hours?
I think there's probably about 10 hours. It was
Jesus.
insane because the Zoom call, that's like 2.5 hours.
Right, because it's essentially the movie all over again.
Yeah, they do the whole thing
With like added probably like people laughing and stuff for things. Yeah.
I mean, there was some joking around, but I appreciated how they were like,
They weren't like fucking around.
yes,
and stuff.
it was clear that they were taking it very seriously. And Mark Hamill was great as the Roddy McDowall character.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of interviews.
I can only imagine.
Because I think this has been released multiple times, and each time they
Yeah.
did new interviews, and like everyone's still alive and wants to do interviews,
Yeah.
so it was just a lot of repeat.
Do they have like a
content.
lot of like Roddy McDowall footage at all? Or not
A
really?
little bit like from the set.
It's
but
like
that's
Bob
pretty much it.
Hoskins essentially in the Mario
Yes,
Blu-ray
exactly.
I have, where it's like on set and then like that's it. Like no one ever interviewed him again about it apparently.
Yes,
Probably-
but there's a new making of that's just a bunch of interviews, but that was like 2.5 hours long. And it's like,
Damn.
dude, it's definitive.
Was
for
there a
sure.
lot of like overlap with
Yes,
stuff?
there was.
That's the one thing I liked about like some of the Severin stuff is like watching that like with Severin like releases. Kind of shout out here, I guess, not to the character Severin, but like to the people making the films, but like they don't really have a lot of overlapping interviews and stuff in those. They kind of cut that shit out, which I appreciate because when you're trying to go through all this extra crap and you're like looking through all of it and it's like, okay, this is just the interview that's a little bit longer that they made a cut of and put in this part.
I hate that.
Which the Mario Brothers movie is probably the worst for that. Only for Bob Hoskins. Almost everybody else has different stuff to say, but they literally got like 2 things he ever said about the film on set while they still had him there. After that, it's like he never wanted to talk about it again, apparently. It's like, okay. But anyway, what would you give the film?
I'm going to go 8.95. The
Cool.
only thing keeping it from a 9, I think, is some of the like high school sitcom hijinks at the beginning. Like, it's fine. Didn't do a whole lot for me, but yeah, it's a great movie.
Cool.
Really enjoyed it.
I'll give it a perfect score.
Nice.
It's like the opposite of what we had for last one. 8.95 and 9.95.
Flip-flopped.
Yep. Yep. That's for the war before I just guessed it. So, next week, we're going to be going back to...
Halloween's over.
Yeah,
Halloween ends.
Over, or the October month is gone. It's
October month.
No longer around, and we're going to be going back to Weird Watches and features. I kind of like doing 2 features, but Weird Watches. I guess it's me. It's me,
Mike Week.
Mike VD. So Weird Watches. I'm gonna pick the Bruce Campbell, Jack of All Trades.
That's on my list.
Nice.
Good. That's on my list.
There you have it. And
I'm excited to watch it.
and then
I meant to say I'm glad you picked it.
thank you. No, good.
Good.
Fuck off. Good. And then the feature presentation is Live and Let Die.
Wow, Bond movie.
Yep. We've only done. I think
Bold
we've done a
choice.
couple, and I want to talk about this film. Actually, I haven't seen it in so long that.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Great.
Save it for next week. Like, don't ever speak of, even though we've talked about Bond so much. So yeah, Live and Let Die. I can't wait. It'll be fun.
Bond week.
Bond week. So until next time, guys. Just keep chilling with us here, and we will see you next episode. This will be out Halloween. Why the fuck did I say that? Everybody knows they're watching the damn movie. You're watching the movie. Every Tuesdays, we're here. Buddy Shots on YouTube. So, Matt, do you have anything, like, pertinent to tell us for, like, the end of this month?
I do.
I can't wait to hear this, man. I've been waiting for a while.
I've been waiting all months to say it.
Dude. Go
Bye.
ahead.